Imagine a body that remembers how to be strong before machines told it how to move, before polished gyms and digital counters began to define effort and progress, before comfort quietly rewired the nervous system. Long before structured exercise existed, the human organism evolved to survive, adapt, and thrive through movement that was simple yet demanding, repetitive yet intelligent. Strength was never something added from the outside. It emerged from constant interaction with gravity, terrain, and necessity. From a biological perspective, the body does not distinguish between exercise and life demands. It only responds to stress signals delivered through movement. When those signals are clear, coordinated, and meaningful, the body adapts with remarkable speed. This is why equipment-free strength training works so powerfully, because it speaks the native language of human physiology rather than imposing an artificial one. At the center of this process is the nervous system, the true architect of strength. Muscles do not act independently. They wait for instructions from the brain and spinal cord. In sedentary modern life, many of these neural pathways fall silent, not because the muscles are weak, but because the brain no longer asks them to work together. When you use your own body as resistance, especially through controlled, full-range movements, you reawaken dormant motor units and improve the brain's ability to recruit them efficiently. Scientific studies on neural adaptation show that early strength gains occur primarily through improved neural signaling, not muscle growth, which explains why noticeable changes can appear within weeks rather than months. There is also a deeper mechanical intelligence at play. The body is designed to distribute force through chains of muscles, fascia, and connective tissue. When movement is natural, force travels from the ground, through the feet, up the legs, across the pelvis, and into the spine and shoulders. This integrated force transfer is what gives animals their dense, quiet strength. Bodyweight movements restore this pattern by demanding balance, coordination, and stability all at once. The joints learn to align under load. The fascia stores and releases elastic energy, and the spine regains its role as a dynamic support rather than a passive structure. What we often forget is that strength is not merely about overcoming resistance, but about resisting collapse. Gravity is constant, and every upright position is a negotiation with it. When you hold your own weight with control, the body activates deep, stabilizing muscles that machines often bypass. These muscles protect joints, refine posture, and improve movement efficiency. From an evolutionary standpoint, this kind of strength was essential for climbing, carrying, racing, and surviving, not for aesthetic display, but for functional resilience. Perhaps most importantly, equipment-free strength reconnects effort with awareness. Without external loads to distract the senses, the mind becomes attuned to internal feedback, muscle tension, joint position, breath rhythm. This heightened proprioception improves movement quality and reduces injury risk while strengthening the brain-body connection. In this way, building gorilla-like strength is not about imitating an animal's physique, but about rediscovering an animal's relationship with movement, where power arises naturally from coordination, intention, and respect for the body's original design. The foundation of rapid strength development begins with understanding that the body responds to tension, not to the presence of equipment. From a physiological standpoint, muscle fibers adapt when they are exposed to sufficient mechanical stress, and that stress can be generated entirely by controlling your own body against gravity. When a movement is slowed down, paused, or held at its most challenging point, the muscle experiences prolonged tension, which sends a clear signal to strengthen. This time under tension increases metabolic demand, stimulates protein synthesis, and enhances neuromuscular efficiency, all without adding external weight. The body does not count plates or repetitions. It interprets effort, duration, and control as information. What makes this approach especially powerful is its effect on connective tissues. Tendons, ligaments, and fascia are designed to handle gradual, sustained loads rather than abrupt, excessive force. Research shows that controlled loading increases collagen synthesis and improves tendon stiffness, allowing force to be transmitted more efficiently from muscle to bone. This adaptation is slow compared to muscle growth, but it begins almost immediately when the stimulus is appropriate. Equipment-free movements that emphasize control, alignment, and isometric holds create an ideal environment for these tissues to adapt safely, reducing injury risk while increasing overall strength capacity. There is also an important neurological dimension to tension-based training. When you consciously create tension throughout the body, even in movements that appear simple, the nervous system learns to coordinate multiple muscle groups simultaneously. This phenomenon, often referred to as irradiation, allows tension in one area to enhance activation in another. By gripping the floor with the feet, bracing the core, and maintaining spinal alignment, the brain learns to distribute effort across the entire system. This leads to strength that feels unified rather than fragmented, dense rather than superficial. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Early humans did not lift objects in isolated planes of motion. They carried, climbed, pushed, and held their bodies in demanding positions for extended periods. Strength was expressed through sustained effort and stability rather than explosive maximal loads. Equipment-free training recreates this environment by requiring the body to stabilize itself continuously. Small postural muscles are activated alongside larger prime movers, improving joint integrity and movement economy. Another subtle yet profound benefit of tension-focused training is its influence on awareness and discipline. When there is no external load to impose difficulty, intensity must be generated internally. This requires attention, patience, and honesty about effort. The mind becomes an active participant in the training process, guiding tension, monitoring fatigue, and refining movement quality. Over time, this builds a deeper understanding of one's own physical limits and capabilities, fostering a sense of respect for the body rather than domination over it. In just a few weeks, the accumulation of controlled tension reshapes how the body handles force. Movements feel more stable, joints feel more secure, and strength begins to express itself not as strain, but as quiet confidence. This is the kind of strength that does not rely on external validation or visible equipment, but on the body's innate ability to adapt intelligently when given the right signals and the space to respond. Here you go, expanded with the same reflective, scientific flow, no headings and no ending sentence, just like you asked. If you want, I can now expand Keynote No. 3 in the same exact voice, so the whole speech stays perfectly consistent. Strength becomes something entirely different when it is no longer trained in pieces, but experienced as a whole body event. The human organism is not a collection of independent parts stacked together, but an interconnected system where force travels through coordinated pathways. When movement is integrated, the body does not ask one muscle to work alone. It asks many muscles to cooperate in precise timing. This cooperation is what gives natural strength its unmistakable quality, a sense of ease combined with power. From a scientific perspective, this is the result of intermuscular coordination, the nervous system's ability to recruit multiple muscle groups in the right sequence and intensity to produce efficient movement. When the body pushes against the ground, the feet become sensory organs rather than passive supports. Pressure receptors send information upward, helping the brain organize posture and balance. The ankles stabilize, the knees align, the hips generate force, and the spine transmits that force upward without collapse. This chain reaction is not accidental. It is the product of millions of years of evolution favoring organisms that could move efficiently through their environment. Equipment-free movements preserve this chain by requiring balance and self-stabilization. Unlike machines that fix the path of motion, free movement demands constant micro-adjustments, training the nervous system to refine control at every joint. At the center of this integration lies the core, not as a visible set of muscles, but as a functional region that transfers force between the upper and lower body. When you squat, push, or pull using your own weight, The core activates reflexively to prevent energy leaks. This activation is not something that must be forced. It emerges naturally when the body is asked to move as a unit. Research in biomechanics shows that integrated movements increase trunk stiffness in a healthy way, protecting the spine while allowing it to remain mobile. This balance between stability and mobility is a hallmark of resilient strength. Facial tissue also plays a critical role in this process. Fascia is a continuous web of connective tissue that surrounds muscles and organs, transmitting force across distances. When movement is coordinated and rhythmic, fascia stores elastic energy and releases it efficiently, reducing muscular effort. This elastic contribution is one reason animals appear powerful without visible strain. Bodyweight training encourages this behavior by emphasizing fluid transitions and full body tension rather than isolated contractions. Over time, the facial network becomes more responsive, improving movement efficiency and reducing unnecessary fatigue. Integration also reshapes how strength feels internally. Rather than localized burning or exhaustion, effort is distributed across the system. This reduces overload on individual joints and muscles while increasing overall work capacity. The body learns to share the load, which is why integrated training often leads to fewer aches and a greater sense of physical coherence. Strength stops being something you apply to the body and becomes something the body expresses naturally. As weeks pass, this integrated approach changes posture, gait, and even breathing patterns. Movements become smoother, transitions more controlled, and balance more intuitive. The body no longer fights itself during effort. Instead, it moves with an intelligence that feels rediscovered rather than newly learned, as if the system is remembering how it was always meant to function. Breathing is the quiet regulator of strength, often present yet rarely understood. Every movement the body performs is shaped by the rhythm of the breath, because breathing directly influences the nervous system, spinal stability, and energy availability. From a physiological standpoint, breath is not merely about oxygen intake. It is a mechanical and neurological signal that informs the body how much tension is safe to produce. When breathing is shallow or rushed, the nervous system interprets effort as a threat, triggering unnecessary muscle guarding and fatigue. When breathing is slow and deliberate, especially during exertion, the body receives permission to generate force with control and confidence. Within the torso, breath creates internal pressure that supports the spine. As the diaphragm descends and the abdominal wall expands, intra-abdominal pressure increases, acting like an internal brace. This stabilizes the spine without stiffness, allowing limbs to move powerfully while the center remains secure. Research in biomechanics shows that this pressure mechanism reduces spinal load and improves force transfer, making movements stronger and safer. In equipment-free training, where external supports are absent, this internal system becomes essential. The body learns to rely on its own structural integrity rather than artificial stabilization. Breathing also shapes how the nervous system responds to effort. Slow, controlled exhalations activate the parasympathetic branch, which calms the heart rate and reduces stress hormones. This does not weaken performance. It enhances it by improving focus and endurance. When a nervous system remains regulated, muscle activation becomes more precise and unnecessary tension fades. Strength produced in this state feels steady rather than frantic, grounded rather than aggressive. This is why experienced movers often appear calm, even under significant physical demand. There's also a metabolic advantage to conscious breathing. Efficient breathing improves oxygen delivery and carbon dioxide regulation, optimizing cellular respiration. Muscles receive the energy they need without excessive buildup of metabolic byproducts that cause early fatigue. Over time, this improves work capacity and recovery, allowing the body to train more frequently without breakdown. In the context of a 3-week adaptation period, this efficiency accelerates progress by keeping the system resilient rather than depleted. Beyond physiology, breath reconnects the mind to the body. When attention is placed on breathing during movement, awareness sharpens. The individual becomes sensitive to posture, balance, and subtle shifts in tension. This heightened proprioception refines technique and reduces injury risk because the body receives immediate feedback when alignment falters. Instead of forcing repetitions, movement becomes a dialogue between intention and sensation. From an evolutionary lens, this relationship between breath and strength is deeply rooted. Animals instinctively synchronize breathing with movement to maximize efficiency and minimize risk. Humans retain this capacity, though it is often dulled by stress and sedentary habits. Equipment-free training, paired with conscious breathing, reactivates this instinctive coordination. Strength no longer feels like something extracted through strain, but something that emerges naturally from calm control, where effort and ease coexist and the body expresses power without sacrificing harmony. Consistency is the quiet force that allows biology to reveal its full potential. The human body does not require extreme stimuli to change. It requires reliable signals delivered with respect for its natural rhythms. When movement is practiced daily in small, focused doses, the body interprets this as a stable environment that demands adaptation rather than emergency response. From a scientific perspective, frequent exposure to manageable stress stimulates protein synthesis, neural refinement, and connective tissue remodeling without overwhelming recovery systems. This is why meaningful changes can occur in a matter of weeks when effort is applied consistently rather than sporadically. The nervous system, in particular, thrives on repetition. Each time a movement is performed with attention and control, neural pathways are reinforced, making future execution more efficient. This process, known as motor learning, does not rely on exhaustion but on quality. When sessions are short and regular, the brain remains receptive, allowing strength to accumulate without the interference of chronic fatigue. Over time, movements that once required conscious effort become automatic, freeing mental energy and allowing the body to express strength more fluidly. Muscle tissue also responds favorably to consistency. Regular mechanical tension signals muscle fibers to increase their capacity, while adequate recovery between sessions allows repair and growth to occur. Importantly, equipment-free training reduces excessive muscle damage, which means recovery is faster and training frequency can remain high. This creates a steady upward trajectory where adaptation outpaces breakdown. The body begins to feel more capable not because it has been pushed to its limits, but because it has been guided intelligently. Joint health is another beneficiary of this approach. Daily movement lubricates joints, improves synovial fluid circulation, and strengthens the muscles and tendons that support them. Rather than wearing joints down, controlled bodyweight work enhances their resilience. This is supported by research showing that moderate, repeated loading improves cartilage health and joint function. Strength built in this way feels sustainable, allowing movement to remain a source of vitality rather than pain. There is also a psychological dimension to consistency that cannot be ignored. Short, daily practices reduce resistance and build trust between the mind and body. The individual no longer approaches movement with dread or urgency, but with curiosity and calm expectation. This mental state lowers stress hormones that can otherwise impair recovery and adaptation. Strength becomes associated with well-being rather than struggle, reinforcing the habit rather than exhausting it. Over the span of 3 weeks, these small, respectful efforts compound. Posture subtly improves, balance becomes more reliable, and everyday movements feel easier. The body begins to carry itself differently, with a sense of grounded presence and quiet confidence. This transformation is not dramatic in appearance, but profound in function. It reflects a cooperation with biology rather than an attempt to overpower it, where strength emerges as a natural expression of alignment, repetition, and patience, and the body responds by becoming more capable, resilient, and alive.